the final round of this year's Landsend Festival. Near enough ready. Just got him landing net sorted out, and keep nets don't go in until 15 minutes before the start, but you've got plenty of time to set up on this festival. I've drawn peg 13 on the match lake. This is the last lake I got to fish for this festival. Just to catch you up, if you hadn't watched the first videos or the other part of the video, I won my section on the first match on lake 3. Went into lake 1 on the second match, perhaps a little bit overconfident and pushed it too hard, and ended up finishing last in section, which pretty much puts me out of the running now for the overall. So really I'm just fishing for a section, winning some money today. So I can't really pick any money up via the silvers pool either, so I've just got to go try and get a result today. So what, I've come to this peg, and the first thing I've looked at is a aerator, and I'm thinking I could slap against that. And on the island here, which you probably haven't seen on the camera, there's a lot of fish moving about, but you can't reach the island. Even with 17 metres, I don't think you'd reach the island quite. It's really deep. A couple of metres short where I am. It's the deepest I've had in any swim that I've had in this festival. It's like 4 foot, but I can see fish. I can see now a ghostie in that 4 foot. So I'm wondering whether that might actually be another option for catching shallow, because it seems to me like the fish sitting on that, they're in tight around that bay there. And maybe I can pull them out with a bit of feed and a bit of slapping. So that's another thing. I should probably start over there slapping. If I don't have a lot of fish within the sort of first 20 minutes or indications, or feel like it's working, then I shall slip over to here and start feeding and slap over there. And I might, see how that goes. I've got a nice looking margin. I should be feeding it hard here and then fishing in here. So feed it there, the idea being the fish keep coming in and getting a good feed. You can see there's fish under that platform now. If I get too close to that, I'm going to get done on that. So I want to put some bait in here, try and get those fish to come in. It's a lovely depth, 18 inches. And keep banging big pots of bait in there, and they'll be getting a nice free feed, building the confidence up. And then as they drift down the margin here, there'll be a little trap set with my rig on it, hopefully. We'll judge how early in the match we can do that. We might be able to do it earlier than you would normally think. And then backup lines, I've got a little line in here, another little line in there, same rig, sort of at the bottom of this, where this just slopes down. There's like quite a steep slope here, shelf slope, and then goes like that. So at the bottom of that, same there. And then I've also set up another line here in the open water, which will be a more delicate rig with 013 line and a size 18 hook on. So not that delicate, but delicate enough for fishing micros. We've still got carp in here, 4 or 5 pounders, so we've got to be careful. We can't just go too light, else we'll just get smashed up, because we will catch carp on it. So there we are. There's the bait selection. Soaked 3mm. There's swim stim krill. Not because I'm a big fan of swim stim krill, but just because I managed to pick some up cheap, and that's a nice small pellet. 4mm coppins, 6mm coppins, 6mm coppins. This is some bait left over from yesterday, which I'll be banging in the margin. So that'll go in the margin, and then I'll put corn on the hook. I've got some more corn there if I need. I've got this meat here is going to be for this line, so this line's going to be like a throwaway. It's going to bang some meat in there sporadically throughout the day, and then have a look on it after a few hours and see whether anything's come over it. And just keep putting bait in and just keep trying it. Eventually, hopefully, I'll get a couple of lumps move in there. So I've got all my options covered. Just got to hope the fish play the game. Next time you see me, we'll be fishing. Right guys, it's the all in, just sounded. I'm going to start that feeding as I have done for every round so far. Just go out and slap for 10 minutes, see if we can catch something. I have been asked to give a shout out to the adorable Matt on the peg next to me. So there you are. Hopefully the adorable Matt's not so adorable that he's going to beat me up off the next peg today. But we'll see. Let's try up against this aerator to start with. That's good, isn't it? Classic. Straight in the tree. That was how not to slap your rig 101. I'm going to slap from the left to avoid putting a shadow over the lake because the sun's there. I might have to come a little bit more in front of me and slap slightly to the right of the aerator because I don't want to catch that tree again. There you are, guys, you saw it live. Squirreling. No bites off squirrels. Back on the carp. Caught that live on camera, Dave. Technicolor glory. Because I would have had it straight away. Can't have swirled. Oh, there you are, that's what they are. Roaches. You have to catch the roach, Dave, just slap for him, look, with a 6mm pellet on. It's Dave opposite, he's fishing for the Silvers Pool today. He's top of the Silvers Pool. So he'll be looking to consolidate his position, take the win. He's got a whole lot more to fish for than I have, because I can't win anything today other than the individual for today. Just get a bit of feed because obviously some roach there, but there's not a lot of carp there. If there's roach there, that's gone too far. We don't want to be feeding it that far. It'd be nice if they all landed roughly in the same place. You are often limited to how they come out the catapult some days. I'm giving the pole to the left because the sun's coming from my right and so the shadow stays left, and I know at the moment I haven't got much of a shadow because the sun's not out, but the sun will be out in a bit. The sun's just gone in and I don't need to be. That'll be one. There we are, so we got one guy on the camera. Back to move. I was drawn to the aerator, but the fish weren't. I put this one over towards where the fish were. I've seen fish. I've had one. So every day this week, every day in this festival, we've caught one carp slapping straight early, whether or not, and every day we've only caught one. So we can catch two today, we're doing better than we have done. 4 pounder straight in the back. Well, guys, 1 hour update, we're still slapping. I have 2 carp slapping, just lost one, which I think was foul locked. Just judging by the way he ran off there, he was foul locked, it pulled out, or it pulled out of him. I had 3 or 4 F1s. So when I went over to the, had that one on the camera, then I couldn't catch over to the aerator early on, but I had seen a lot of fish over here by the island. where I'm fishing now. So I've just been fishing that like so, just a bite there. And just keep flipping it over there and flicking some bait and every now and again. Just started to put a bit of feed and definitely has out. Oh, that was a carp, missed him. Like. Definitely a bit of feed going in, it's just giving me a bit more interest. Out there from the fish. It's quite deep, this spot. Oh, that was really bad, I don't know. Sometimes my catapult just seems to misfire. I get one that scatters bait everywhere. I've been holding the catapult in my mouth, but I can't do that while I'm talking to you guys, so just makes everything not quite as smooth as it was. Can't help but feel like I've missed a couple of chances just while shooting on the camera, really. There's loads of fish there. What size they are is hard to tell. That's a better fish just swirled at the float. Something's had it, I think it's another small little one sort of fish. There's loads of them there. A minute. It's good practice for me slapping. And again, these are things in between, every now and again we get a carp. If there's plenty of these here feeding, then we can just keep feeding them. We can just nick the odd carp in between, which is nice. Definitely not going to change more. I'm not going to drop down to feeding 4 mils because with them I don't want to encourage those size fish anymore. If we've got a few there, that's fine, but I don't really want to encourage them any more than I need to. So that's where we are. We've got £8 in the bag plus probably £4 or £5 of bits and bobs already. So we're not doing too badly at all. Just got to keep plopping bait out. I fed all my deck lines all the way around. I'm not seeing any everywhere except my margin. I shall probably stop and feed all my deck lines again in a minute because at some point I'm going to have to start going on them if this dries up. Right, guys, 2-hour update. Come off the slapping mostly because everybody who's not slapping seems to be doing better than me. The people that fish on this seem to be feeding quite well today, so what I'm doing is I'm just fishing. I've just come onto the short line down to my left where I've been putting 3 mil soaked pellets in. But I have put bait down on this spot a couple of times before I fished it. One lot sort of half an hour in and then another about an hour and a half in, it's about half an hour ago. And I'm just going in, a little tiny kinder pot, on the end of the pole, a few pellets in and just an expander on the hook. I've had a couple of roach F1 tench, small tench, lots of small tench in here. A couple of perch actually which were foul locked under the chin, so I don't think they were feeding on the pellet, but maybe they were feeding on the micros, something down there. We're just darting. Oh, that was a very fast bite. That could have been a carp, that one. So I'm just keeping at it. I mean, they're only catching small fish, and you probably wouldn't want to feed this hard if you were just trying to catch those small fish. But I'm hoping to draw the attention of the carp by just keep dropping bait in. So the guy who pegs me right, Matt, as you might mention, I did a shout out for him at the start. If you might remember, should I say, I did a shout out from the start. He's caught 5 or 6 carp already. He's got one on now actually. He's catching them all right in front of him. Looks like he's just throwing meat around his float, and he's just having them. So they're definitely feeding today. Maybe meat's the way to go. Maybe they don't want the pellet. I have got some meat with me, and I might do I can change to a meat line in a bit if I want. I'll change it, just change it up this for a slightly bigger hook. And I can just put meat down on this hole if it doesn't start producing the next sort of half an hour or so. Might just be the noise of throwing that's drawing the carp in for him. Yeah, this spot's getting a bit silly down here now. Probably because I'm putting all the bait down in one little hole. But that's what I want, and then a carp will come in and mush the lot up. That's the hope. Oh shit. That's me pole hitting the ground, guys. Me swearing about it, sorry. Yeah, these pellets have just been soaked through, but they don't really stick together. They're not quite as soaked as I would normally do them for, like, sort of, say, the method or trying to make a ball out of, but I'll purposefully, say, trying to put off the silverfish, because that's not what I classed as silverfish in this lake with the F1s and the tension that. But what I mean is just trying to make sure that only the better ones are interested in what I'm feeding. Not too many tiny little roaches and blips and just stuff that doesn't weigh anything, wasting my time. If I'm going to catch silvers, I'd like to catch something in the half a pound to pound category so that I'm adding something to my weight. So I had a nice little run of fish before I turned the cameras on, but as usual, put the camera on, thought, oh, at least there'll be something to show people, and now I can't get a bite. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe there's a carp down there. Ooh, that was something better. Pulled out something better then. I suspect that could have been a carp. That could have been a carp. Could have been a foul looked there for one or something. There's definitely some interest in the bait at the moment, so I'm going to just keep at it. I'm not going to do anything too drastic yet, just because the guy next to me is giving me a good hide. Because in match fishing anything can happen. He could suddenly lose his fish and he can't get a bite. And then he starts foul looking fish left, right and centre because he's got too many swim or something. That gives me an opportunity to get back into it. Definitely have. When I first started fishing this, I was getting lots of roach and stuff that were grabbing the pellet on, intercepting the pellet on the way down. I'm not getting that now, so I think that's a positive sign. Either all the fish have been pushed down or the roach has been pushed out. But again, that was a nice positive bite. I'm struck into it, it's probably a liner. Little touch there then. Lots of little indications. I'd normally strike out, but I'm just waiting for something positive. It's a little tension, that is. You can tell by the little juddery head. Little juddery fight. It could be a crucian, but I think it's a tension. Yeah, there we are. So a nice little stamp these tench. Not what I was after, but it's weight going in the net. And as I haven't got anything to fish for, big money wise, I'm kind of quite happy just to sit and enjoy myself today. A smaller 4mm pellet on, just to see if we get a quicker bite. And if you can see by looking at them pellets, they are sort of spongy, but then they're still individual pellets, they're not sticking together. They wouldn't stay on a method feed, they wouldn't last a cast on a method feeder. And then what that does is it means I can just stick them in the pot, and then as soon as they get wet, they will pop out with sometimes a little tap on the pole if needed. There we are, they're all out. Then I can drop my float right down the hole The pellets have gone down. You probably can't see that. I don't know if you can picking it up on the camera because it's a bit to the left. Loads of little indications all the time, but there's lots of crusions F1s, small crusion, small F1s, roach and stuff in here. So if you start striking everything, especially with expander on, you just start losing your expander and you're not really bringing anything back. You're just better off waiting for that slightly more positive. The tench seems to just have it, which is good because actually tench are quite weighty relative to the crusions and that, because they're a bit bigger. They've put a bit of weight on since I last caught any amount of them. If you look back from my videos, you'll see a video with I caught quite a lot of them. A bag of silvers. It's quite a nice day's fishing. That was running them, which is usually like a roach or a crusion if it runs. I'm just going to stick at it because I feel like if I just keep putting bait in and just keep going at it, eventually something bigger will move in the next 10 or 20 minutes, and if not, I've got other lines I can look at. This is gone again. It's at it. This doesn't feel like a tench this time. It feels like it might be a crusion or an F1. F1 always my size now. They see they're always stamp these F1s. They're not carp, and you're not going to put a weight together that's going to compete with, you know, the carp weights are going to be 70, 80, 90, 100 pound today, judging by the way that Matt's catching to my right. I'm going to have to at some point find a way of getting into these carp. We are getting into middle of the day, hard to get bites time, which is why I sort of stuck on the I just stuck at it on the slapping, because I kind of knew that the slapping would sort out any bigger fish that I had in my swim, which they kind of have. Just going to put the float in a little bit past the feed this time. I'll just put the feed down the same hole, but I've just put the float in 4 or 5 inches past the feed because I've got quite a long lash today. Just out of interest, just to see if there is any fish off the feed that are better. Oh, I think we had a tench there or something. Interesting. Feels like it's a slightly better stamp of fish. Oh, it's a nice tench. Yeah, he's a nice one. He's probably 6 to 8 ounces, isn't he? Could do with a few of them. I wonder if they're sitting off the back or bigger fish just hang around the edges of the feed a little bit. We'll try that again. Bigger pellet. I mean, I've only got a small cup on, but for small fish, I'm putting a fair bit of bait in every pot. It's probably a recipe to overfeed. But as I've said, I'm doing that as a. If I was trying to catch a bag of these silvers, I perhaps wouldn't do it every single pot. So, down the same hole again. The feed. Float's already right out the back of the float's even further out the swim this time. Might be 8 or 9 inches out the swim. Oh, and it went straight away, a bit further out. Maybe that bit further off the feed. Getting more bites. I'm just going to go straight, I'm not going to put feed in this time. Just because it's been so quick. I'll get a fish out and then I will put one in. Let him settle just past the main area of feed. So if there's a lot of fish about and they're all coming in and turning the bottom up and turning it over, then your bait starts to spread over an area. And if you think about it, if your bait's in the middle of the area where all your bait, where there's hundreds and hundreds of pellets, or 50, say there's 50 or 60 pellets in the middle, and then around the edge your pellets in an area where there's 10 pellets, you've got this nice big pellet sitting amongst 10 pellets, yours are going to get picked out quicker. And sometimes the bigger fish don't get involved in the net, they'll let the little fish dive in and grab whatever's there. There's another one just past the feed here, and it seems like it's a tench again, so the tench is definitely sitting off the feed a little bit. Maybe the F1s and the other fish are more boisterous. So I'm going to leave you guys for a bit so we're not banging on about catching these little ones, and I'll give you an update in a bit. But I'm having fun if nothing else. Catch you in a bit. Yeah, it seems to be like that. Right guys, just past 3 hours, still messing about with these small fish at the minute. And the little line to the right hand side that you saw me on, I came off it because it went a bit funny. And I went over this other line that I'm on now. You can see me fishing now, hopefully you can see that. So that's like 4 sections in a top kit. It's probably about 8 metres ish, 7 or 8 metres. It's just a little bit deeper there. I've got a slightly more sensitive rig on here because this was really where I was going to go just to catch silvers, which I've decided I want to have a little run at for another half an hour at least. So I went over here and I've just had a few. And this went a bit quiet, so then I've gone back to my left hand edge where I was caught earlier with, well, not my left hand edge but my left hand line where I was catching when you last saw me, and it ain't really come back to life. So I've just topped that up a little bit because perhaps he wants a bit more bait on. Gone back out here and had a little run, 2 or 3 crusions and a couple of little tench. There's fish there again now. I'm just being cautious about how I feed it now because I feel like the reason that they were going a bit iffy was I've been pushing them trying to get carp. Now I had hooked a carp on this line but it pulled out, which is probably because it was foul hooked. Because the carp tend, the carp, as carp do, they just tend to come in shallow, don't they, and bump into the line. They give you a bite, you strike, then you foul hooked them in a fin or in the belly or something. So that's where we are. I don't know what weight I've got of these silvers because it's very, very hard to tell. Little tench or something here. Obviously you can see this elastic's far too powerful for these fish, but we could hook a 4 or 5 pound carp at any minute. And if I'm totally honest, I don't think I've lost a fish because of this elastic so far, touch wood. I'm hoping that hasn't jinxed me, but we're still catching the little bars of soap tench. And a couple of crusions and a couple of F1s as well. So it's just a case I keep ticking over at it. Just being a little bit more cautious with my feed now, like I would be if I was actually trying to catch them, because it's like middle of the match. I've noticed the guys that were catching carp aren't catching carp, so for me to try and catch a carp now would be suicidal, really. I'm expecting perhaps another hour before I realistically think about trying to catch some more carp, but I have just been topping up my margin. Topping up my margin line and topping up my areas that I've got for carp. I've got one over in the left to the bushes in the left. I'm told by the regulars here that they don't usually catch in there, but it just looked fishy, so I put some bait there. I've also got my right hand margin right tight in, and I've just put my second big pot in of the day. I'm fishing that in a bit of a different way to what most people fish in. It worked for me on the first day. It completely blew my peg out the second day, so I'm aware today that it might not work, and I might not just sit there trying to make it happen for hours and wasting time. Having said that, I'm not too worried about, I'm not all out winning in my head today. Just enjoying myself, catching some fish, making Dave opposite sweat a little bit because I'm catching some silvers, and he obviously doesn't want to miss out on his silvers thing. But he's got to remember he's had a 2-hour head start on me. I've been slapping and flapping about for 2 hours, so whilst he's seeing me catch a few now, I'm way behind him, but he's just had a lovely a lovely skimmer as well, which will be a big bonus to the weight. She's caught in some shallower water that he said he'd found. I do have a longer line that I plumbed up with the same rig as the one that's in the left hand edge. I might actually go and put some bait on that, and if anything happens to these lines, or maybe just put some on there anyway just to go and see, because I bet a lot of people don't fish down that left hand edge long. There might be some sneaky little fish down there. Maybe get one more before we do a little refeed. It's just starting to slow a little bit. That's where we are. So I've got £11 on my clicker, which is the same as I weighed yesterday in carp already. And I've already got way more weight. I've probably got more than £11 of silvers, I don't know. So deceiving, they're quite small. You know, you need 4 or 5 of them to a pound. So if you've got 40 fish, you've only got £10. So yeah, you know, I probably ain't got that much. I've probably got £7 or £8. But you just don't know. I've not fished it for a while, and the fish put on a bit of weight since I fished it last. I can see now, like the carp guys, the guys that have been catching carp, like a couple of pegs to my right, who's the next angler along, Matt. He's been catching short all day and feeding it short all day, and he's fishing it really well actually. But he's just started getting lots and lots of small stuff. It just tells me the big boys are just shut down for a bit, which is what they do midday quite often. You can still catch them if you can mug them and things like that, but they're not about to be mugged. They're just shut down, so it's not time yet to go searching for a carp. Just keep putting some weight in the net. Probably let myself down by slapping again for too long, but slapping something that I've only just started really doing. I'm just trying to get my confidence up in it and my ability at it. It's hard. It's really hard work, and it's quite hard to get right. So every time I get a chance to practice it, I do. And with today not really meaning anything, I've definitely taken the opportunity to practice it a little bit more. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you just have to sacrifice the match result if you're trying to work on stuff, you know. And I'll be ready for next season when the slapping starts. Hopefully I'll have some confidence in it, and I'll be able to win some matches as a result of actually having that tactic in my armoury. I don't know why I keep trying to throw those tensions into the net. It's better off just using the net because they're so slippery. Right guys, that's past 3, we've got an hour and a half to go. Still on that right hand line, chopping up the other lines, but just been picking up lots of fish off it and just kept at it. And this is the second. I've already had one carp and landed it successfully, and this is the second one I've hooked in the last 20 minutes or so. And they're definitely coming in the carp. They're coming to the feed. They're coming in and having a feed. You can see when they're there, there's a bit of fizzing goes on. And eventually one just sucks the bait in and he's on. That's what's just happened. So we're feeding the margins, we're feeding the other lines, that just don't seem to be happening. As ever with this squid, this place you find, you just keep the silvers coming, just keep putting the micros in, and eventually the carp just turn up. Sorry about the swearing, guys. Forgot I was on camera again. Little check on the net. Ooh, just over £4 here. Every fish I've caught, every carp I've caught today has been £4, around that mark. So I'm going to get a few more. I have to get my plummet out because that one's moved me float and it got wrapped around my landing net there. I made a bit of a hash of that. So I ended up swearing at everybody because I thought I was going to lose it for a second. It's taken me a long time to get these fish having it sorted. And there's nothing more frustrating than after you've sorted something out. Well, you think you've sorted something out, and having to, let's go and plumb this back up, and losing the fish. Definitely coming in now each time I feed it. Coming into a bit of feed. They don't live forever, do they? They took the chub.
Swedish fish. 15. Swedish fish. How's it going, Steve-o?
Swedish fish, they're sweets, aren't they? No more carps, just silvers now.
It's on you, mate. It's on you. John, you bit there, John.
One stuck up here.
You love that, wouldn't you? Yeah. If anybody's interested in doing the winter league, I've got about 16, 17 names so far.
What, on here?
Yeah.
What are the dates?
The date, the first one is 19th of December.
I need more than just one date though, I'll have to have a look at them all.
Look on the list up there.
I'll take a picture.
1710. 1710.